Piper Rodrigues started 2024 as a Toyota Star Maker Grand Finalist in the wake of releasing her popular 2023 single Exit Wound. Originally from Newcastle, New South Wales, she now calls Brisbane home, and her latest single is the very earwormy Watch Your Step. So I'm going to ask her all about it. Hi, Piper.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm going to start by asking you how Brisbane life is.
It's great. It's very different. Driving kind of scares me. I'm not gonna lie, like driving through Brisbane makes me cry sometimes, but I love it. It's great. Brisbane is really different to Newcastle. It's a lot bigger. But the music scene here is really, really nice. It's huge. There's loads of people and it's fantastic.
Look, I've been in Newey on a Saturday, particularly when the footy's on, and I can't say that that's for the faint-hearted either.
No, it's yeah, Newcastle gets pretty rowdy.
And a lot of traffic, actually. There have been times when I've been swearing my way from, the expressway turn off to trying to get into the centre of the city. I'm like, this is taking far too long.
Yeah, see, Newcastle is a smaller city and there is less parking.
Right.
But Brisbane has the parking, but the parking's in really obscure spots, and traffic to get to that parking is a mission. Like it's hard. It's not good. But we digress. Brisbane's lovely.
Not really. I think because it's all building a portrait of your new musical life. And I was actually going to ask you a question about the music community. So you started to talk about it. There are some great artists there. So once you moved there, I suppose you already knew some people when you moved there.
I did know some. I didn't know many. I moved because I was in a long distance relationship with my partner Jack for a year, and then we just decided that we weren't going to do long distance anymore. So I moved, and I knew some people. I didn't know loads, but I've met heaps.
Right. And one of the people who is in Brisbane, or I think she's in Brisbane, is Hayley Marsten, with whom you wrote Watch Your Step. So had you written with her before?
Yeah, we wrote Exit Wound together as well.
Okay.
So it's we've written those two times and we hang out pretty frequently. Like we bump into each other constantly. Hayley is really fun to write with. She's one of those people where mentally we're just really on the same kind of like thought wavelength. It's so it's always really funny to write a song with her, because when I went to write Exit Wound with her, I was in one like pretty solid state of mind of like I've exited a relationship with someone. I really hope it's just a clean exit, nothing happens. And then Watch Your Step, I remember just looking at her on the Zoom, because it was Zoom sessions at that point, and just looking at her and being like, I went out to dinner with my parents last night. Someone gave me a cocktail, told me to enjoy it, and I said, you too. It was a waiter. It was embarrassing. My life is a mess. We need to write about it right now. And that's just kind of how it happened.
I'm intrigued as to why you wishing the waiter had a good night and him wishing you that was the mess. That just sounds like good manners to me.
No, he was like, enjoy your meal, or enjoy. And I looked and I was like, you too. And I was really confident about it. And I've had so many moments in my life where I've just quite genuinely wanted to die inside. Not actually dead. That's bad. This is a family show. But I think we all have those moments. And I really wanted to capture it in my own little way, because there's just things that I've done along the way in my life. And I'm not very old. I'm 23. So it's oh, have I got you?
Yes, you do. Yeah.
So like there are really funny things that happen along the way, and I think sometimes you just have to you can't take yourself too seriously. I think in most of the songs that I've released prior to this, I've been pretty serious. And with this one, I really didn't want to do that. Because it's just life's short.
It is, but look, I still think it's evidence of your good manners that you just, were being polite back to him. He gave you good wishes. You were just returning them.
Oh, thank you.
Look, I've done that sort of thing as well, where you just afterwards think, oh no, why did I say that?
Yeah, and you're like, but it's usually when you get into bed that night and you're like trying to go to sleep and you're just replaying the moment over and over and over again. You're like, oh my God, no, no.
But it's all right at the end because you get a song out of it. So did you actually write it in one session or did it take a bit of back and forth?
So Watch Your Step was one session. I like to do most of the songs I write and the ones that see the light of day, usually ones that happen in one session, because I feel like the moment for me it turns into more than one session. I just, I don't know. I'm invested, but I'm not as invested as the ones where I'm like, okay, there's a clear idea, let's go for it.
Right. Interesting. Now you recorded it with Shane Nicholson and his studio is closer to Newcastle than it is to Brisbane. So did you record it before you moved?
Yes. I've had this song for actually a little while now, and I just kind of been holding on to it and holding on to it. And it was actually Star Maker that I did it, and I played the song at Star Maker, and I had plans to release it. And I was like, you know what? Let's not wait. Let's just do it. And that's what we did.
Because from what I understand, you do need to take some new material into Star Maker, something that hasn't been released before, or to perform at the grand final as well as part of the process.
Yeah, so Star Maker was a really cool experience in that they wanted to see how organized you were. And whilst I am a mess, I'm a spreadsheet loving freak. So basically, I had everything there for them. I was like, here's everything that's been recorded. Here's what's about to be recorded. These are my proposed dates. And this is how I want everything to look. And here is my whole Dropbox folder of everything I'm planning for the next 2 years. And I don't know if everyone does that. I try to do it. I think it's one of those things like I hyperfixate on a little bit, because before I met Jack, when I was single, all I would do was I would just sit at my desk and work and figure out what I wanted to do, because I'm really lucky to love what I do.
But I've got to say, being a spreadsheet loving freak is at odds with your stated condition as a mess. So perhaps you're not as much of a mess as you think you are.
Yeah, I think they're like subgenres of hot mess. I think for me, it was always like in that social aspect. I grew up an only child. I didn't have many friends in school. So I just very much like in that sort of later portion of like my young adult life, I'm like fumbling my way through all that kind of thing. And to be completely like candid about it, is my spreadsheet freakisms only lie within like my music industry stuff. The rest of my life, shambles.
Well, you muse as to whether someone else, other artists might do the spreadsheet thing. I'm pretty sure former accountant Amber Lawrence would love a spreadsheet as well.
Yeah, I think she would. I'm doing not to sneakily promote a gig, but I'm
No, please do it.
for her on the 14th of April in Brisbane at a venue called It's Still a Secret. So I'll ask her. We'll compare spreadsheets.
And I think that is a sold out show. I think she's just posted that that's sold out. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting.
Yes, well, yes, do compare spreadsheets because if she does have one, she might be able to literally show you.
Oh yeah, I think Amber is one of those people. Like, I think you would never second guess it, but she is super organized. But like, it's just like the way that she does it all, because she does most of it herself. She does such a great job. And I remember I did support for her. Oh, it would have been nearly last year, a bit in the middle of last year, and I was just like, this is serious. This is great. Fantastic.
Yeah, she is fantastic. But I've completely lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with that, but I will go back to the question of Shane Nicholson producing you. So had you worked with him before?
Yeah. So what I did in so my career started in 2020. I did my first round of co-writes before 2020, and before I did like the Academy of Country Music. A lot of my music stuff was very like isolated to me. So I'd do everything. I'd write songs. I was teaching myself how to play guitar, all that kind of thing. And hiccups. No, we're good. So what I would do is I do it all myself. And 2020 rolled around and I started to meet people in the country music industry. And I was writing songs and I got in contact with Shane. And because we lived close enough together, because nobody could travel at that point, is like when restrictions were easing, we'd go and we'd record. So we recorded about 12 songs.
Right.
Yeah, so most of which I've released now. So and now we're actually, it was such a fantastic way to like have those building blocks, because I'd like go and I'd record 3, go right, go back, record 3 more, and do it that way. And Watch Your Step was the last song we recorded.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
12 songs, of course, is enough for an album. So are you thinking along those lines?
I was, but now, like after writing Watch Your Step and like having that sort of time to like really play around with that vibe and new things, I think I'm moving on to something new, but definitely those songs will end up out at some point. So it might be like a little EP or something like that.
Yeah. Because 2020, as you said, you could record with Shane because he was pretty close to you, but that's a really interesting year in which to launch a career or even think about being any kind of artist, I reckon.
Yeah, I really know how to pick it. I'm great with timing. So yeah, it was definitely a way to go about it, but I think it's been working really well for me. I released my first song in 2021, and I've just been moving forward since then. And I think at first I had like, it felt like a bit of like an unfair like disadvantage, but everyone else had it. So it's like, well, that happened, like onwards and upwards.
Yeah. Now, I have remembered the question that I lost a few minutes ago, which was that you'd mentioned something about how you planned 2 years ahead on your spreadsheets. So does that mean that you have a sense of not just what you want to achieve, I guess, but what sort of music you're planning to make? Like you actually have, it's like a creative plan as much as it's a business plan.
Yeah, it starts off creative, and then like my I go and do like that business plan kind of stuff. The way that I do that is my dad is my accountant, so like I sit down with my dad and I'm like, am I going to go broke? Are we good? And then it's a great question to ask. You always need to have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
I think working in music, because it is so easy to spend money. It is not hard at all. And but that creative plan is definitely like, I know how I want things to sound, and that plan might change, and that's totally fine. It's pretty loose, but it's all there.
Mhm.
And um just working through it all, and we're actually going and recording again next week.
Right.
So for that new sort of path. So things definitely down the track are going to be still very country, kind of like Watch Your Step, but just moving and like evolving from that, like a slightly bigger production sound.
Mhm.
Because I've got some really exciting gigs coming up, and I just really want to be able to show that off and have a really good time.
Can you say what those gigs are? I know some festivals can't be announced too far ahead of time.
Yeah, so at the moment, what I can talk about is I'm playing at Texas Country Music Festival in September, which is really exciting. I am tomorrow night, I'm supporting Sammy White in Brisbane, which is super exciting. I'm doing support for Amber Lawrence. So all those kinds of things are in the pipeline, but we're just locking in some more, and it's going to be a really fun rest of the year. It's already started off so well. I think better than I could have ever really hoped. I think everything changed really early October, November, mid-October, early November, obviously getting into Star Maker, and I think just moving on from that and doing, I think it definitely, I learned a lot about myself and what I want to do in the future from that, and it's all really exciting to see it kind of come to fruition now.
Well, Starmaker wasn't the only thing you were doing during the Tamworth Country Music Festival, because I saw you in person in Tamworth Square, where it turned out you were not just performing, but you had actually coordinated all the acts who were going to be on stage. It was basically, you were the producer of what was going on. So how did that come about, and how many acts did you have to schedule? How many days? How much work did it take?
It was a big undertaking. So Tamworth Square actually got in contact with me, and initially it started out they wanted to use my PA system, because I have one of those that I hire out, but that's like nitty gritty that people really don't want to know about. And it just went on, and they're like, oh, we need like an entertainment manager, like someone to like book the acts and like MC it and do all that. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. That sounds good. So I ended up booking, I think, around 24 acts over the 10 days, whilst doing all my own gigs and emceeing it. And yeah, it was huge, but it was really good. And I think a lot of people have given me a chance to play on stages like that and do all that kind of thing. So it felt really nice to pay it forward and give people a shot to play. And usually in Tamworth, the deal with most artists is that they don't get paid. It's a bit of a thing. And I was lucky enough that I managed to talk to the shopping centre and get a budget in which to pay the artists. They were only 30-minute sets, but the artists were paid. And it was just, they felt really good about it. And it was really fun. I'm really excited to do it again next year.
Well, given that and given your fondness for spreadsheets, I'm wondering if you're foreseeing that you might become like a festival organizer or something like that, because it certainly seems you've got the skill set happening.
Oh, thank you. I think definitely the passion for me lies in playing. I think that is where I sit strongest, but like maybe I can be like the artist organizer hybrid. Hey, that, oh God.
Well, you've already got, so you've got the PA, you've got the spreadsheets, you've got the connections, you've got clearly got the organizational skills, despite the fact you're saying you're a hot mess in some things. There's also that ability to organize people, which is something not to be underestimated, because you have to keep track of everyone and communicate and make sure everyone turns up on time. So effectively, it's just sitting there, Piper.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm also very social. I grew up in a hair salon. My mum is a hairdresser.
Wow.
So I'd been like running around talking to like quite like grown up ladies since I was really, really small, like 3 or 4. Like my mum had been working in the salon since before I was born, and I just grew up there because it was in the house. So I can talk, and that's really all you need. You just need to have fun.
Well, I'm also wondering if that had prepared you well to be a performer, because that idea of, I imagine, being a small child in a salon, partly, there might be an inclination to entertain the adults who are there, and I'm sure they would have enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I was making cups of tea and singing Jolene in a little cowgirl outfit. Like that's 100%. What was happening. Like visualize it, because that's exactly
I am visualizing a small child in a cowgirl outfit presenting a cup of tea, singing about a redhead hussy.
Not at the same time, but I was definitely like, when I was home from school, I was the tea lady.
Right.
Because my mum loves a cup of tea, and like the clients obviously love a cup of tea. And then as I got older, I became the tea and the wine lady. So yeah, it worked out well.
Look, that's fantastic. Did you also get to determine which music was playing on the overhead speakers in the salon, if there were any?
Yes, absolutely. I'd have sometimes when I was small, I'd have clients come through to the lounge room and watch movies with me while their colour was cooking. That was like actually a thing.
I'm surprised there have not been songs about this. I think there's a gold mine there.
There actually is one, but it's not out yet, and I've not played it to people because we're still like tinkering with it.
Okay.
But like actually a song about it.
So I'm also thinking, given that childhood and teenage experience, meeting people in a hairdresser, often stories get exchanged, particularly your mum as a hairdresser. Is that partly where your interest as a songwriter came from, or a storyteller, I should say?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because you'd go in and like hair salons, all these ladies and all these people that'll come in are basically, like at this point, are basically aunties at this point, and like aunties, and like you'd meet their kids and like new clients, and you would hear like everything that was happening on like with their lives. Like it's no secret that like hair salons are like gossip mills. So like I was getting song inspiration from it. Like I was playing songs to clients like as I was writing them when I first learned how to play guitar. Like it was really sweet. I love the way that I grew up, and I really love like the environment that it gave me, because it was really sweet and really supportive. And mum would have ladies that would come in every week on like Thursday and Friday without fail to get their hair like washed and blow dried.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd see them and they'd be like, oh, what are you doing? Do you have anything new? So it's always been really sweet. And like when I go back home to visit, it's really nice to see them all, and like they make me play music before I release it and all that kind of thing.
Well, that's good.
Clients hear like songs before I release them like months in advance. It's so if you want to hear my music before it gets released, go get your hair done at my mum's house.
It's like built-in fan club slash market research.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like help me pick out like outfits for music videos and everything.
Right.
It's basically like I have a permanent like Australia's Got Talent judging panel. Like it's basically what it is.
That is gold.
It really
So given all of that, given that there was inspiration around and entertainment happening, when did you write your very first songs?
I think my first like actual songs were probably when I was quite small and I was probably singing like about butterflies and cake or something like cute like that. And then I wrote my first proper song, I would have been about 13.
Mhm.
So oh god, it's been like 10 years. I've been writing songs for 10 years.
There you go.
There we go. So yeah, my first song was at 13 and I just like it was a little bit every now and again and then like the tap fully turned on when I hit 15.
Right.
Yeah, it was like a non-stop, like you could not pull me out of my room away from the guitar because like I had actually started to teach myself how to play guitar when I was 15.
Right.
So like everything was piecing together. And I really like making up stories. I really like being dramatic. It's great. I love it. I as long as it doesn't hurt anyone,
Mhm.
my songs, hand is up. I will do it.
I think that's also part of the beauty of making stuff up, is that therefore you can't hurt anyone real.
No, absolutely. And I think that's what I love about country music and this, like the storytelling, because it's just people making things up. And I think there's something really fun about it, like taking inspiration from one thing. Like apart from like the hair salon, like I used to read books like crazy. So I take inspiration from books and from movies, and it was just like the culmination of all that stuff is really fun to play around with and use as inspiration.
Absolutely. So which books were you reading, or which authors are your favorite? Let's start.
Oh, I have my favorite author at the moment is a lady named Sarah J. Maas. She's really cool.
Guitar, yes, yes. A Crown of Thorn and Roses, yes.
With the whole thing, loved it. There was another book I can't remember. Like I would run out to my bookshelf. I really loved all like the Hunger Games books. I love. There's like one on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. It's really sweet. It's
I've put you on the spot, and it's always a tricky question, I think, because the stories are with you, but you don't necessarily attach author names or titles to the stories because, like, the stories just keep flowing. If that makes sense.
yeah, like even books that are like based off movies, like Love Rosie, like The Notebook, all that kind of stuff is really fun. I haven't read a book in ages actually. I used to be like an easy like one book a week kind of person. That's when I had time on my hands. Now I don't. But
Well, what happens when you start to get successful with your music is that, yes, other things have to fall by the wayside. So when you were writing songs and around 13 to 15, which artists were you listening to?
pretty consistently Taylor Swift. I think I grew up really loving Taylor Swift. It started off as Dolly Parton, then I found out who Taylor Swift was and was listening to all of her stuff. I love Bonnie Raitt. I love her. More recently, I've really fallen in love with artists like Maisie Peters and Olivia Rodrigo. I think like in pop music, the stuff they make is really cool, and I love how clever they are with their lyrics. It's so much fun. I've always loved Stevie Nicks. Absolutely adore her. I'm really into a guy named Marcus King at the moment too. Really cool like blues musician. And yeah, I'm really I love a lot of stuff. But like back then it was definitely like Dolly Parton, Taylor Swift, Bonnie Raitt, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
I listen to a lot of Reba.
So it sounds like, yes, you are fully immersed in creative world, whether it's reading, listening, watching, writing. That's always been a big thing for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. So when you started playing guitar, or when you took up guitar when you were 15, was it so that you could write songs?
Yeah, 100%. Like I start playing gigs, but even more I wanted to start writing songs.
And when did singing start?
Singing, I started singing lessons when I was 7.
So does that mean you were in fact singing for the ladies in the hair salon?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think they're really grateful now that I sound good, because that's probably pretty interesting. It was probably a bit of an acquired taste. Like, I hope it wasn't a punish, like the dulcet tones of Parton. Like when you just have your hair done. Might have been a bit much, but hey, it's all good.
Yeah, and again, built-in fan club / market research. So it
Yeah,
clearly worked.
basically, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're already preparing for your new music because you're recording next week, and you have your plans and you have your gigs coming up. So people can keep an eye, no doubt, on your socials and on your website for news of all of that. But in the meantime, we do have the wonderful Watch Your Step and your back catalogue of songs already released. I am sure we will be hearing from you again very, very soon and many more times into the future. And
Oh,
Piper, it was so interesting and entertaining to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
it's such a good time. Thank you.
Thanks.